These last few weeks have been quite eventful for the RTS gaming community and genre at large, so I'm going to start with one of the brightest stars first, as the Kickstarter for D.O.R.F ended with over $300,000 collected. Hooray! Not all 7 stretch goals were met, but the 5 that were are significant enough, like the special co-op campaigns for each faction, which are promised to be playable online with other players. Devs already posted several updates, and in their end of April Kickstarter update wrote at length about their work on optimizing the game. That is ongoing and involves switching from OpenGL, a graphic platform that dates back to the 90s, with Vulkan, a far newer cross-platform API. They also mentioned going with the projectile blocking system like it is in Beyond All Reason, where a unit's gun can be blocked by friendly units, and in that situation it will not open fire. This will be combined with a simplistic formation/positioning system, allowing us as players to set up firing lines for units and clear those sightlines of obstacles. The UI and civilian vehicles were also changed or updated, and devs have interesting ideas for those vehicles. They will become a source of resources once recycled in your base. Since one of the stretch goals was getting a new programmer, they are soon going to bring one such new person into the game's development.
Defcon, please send my base to you. Copy. Read 5, this is R.U.S.E.
5th Terran Task Force, begin Operation Moby.
Next major news is about ZeroSpace and its release date to early access on Steam, which will happen on the 20th of July. Even better, it will have a playable free week between the 15th and 22nd of June during a Steam Next Fest event. Devs have found a publisher to help them with the release in Asia for both marketing and localization. I guess they know exactly where a huge audience for this kind of a game is located. As you can no doubt see in this latest trailer, the entire tone of the game has been changed slightly, as well as a lot of textures. This is due to a new tone map and bringing on board an RTS game dev veteran, one of the founders of Relic Studios and co-creators of Homeworld no less. This change of how units look will not stop at the Protectorate faction. One more change I am particularly happy about was making the units less able to clump up and overlap models. Soon we are going to get a roadmap for the release and post-early access content updates, so stay tuned in and let me know what do you think of this change in ZeroSpace. Is it a direction you like? In the latest dev update on Defcon Zero Frontlines of Tomorrow, we just got news on how much their dev team has expanded, especially in the art department, including a special effects and an environment artist. Some new team members are veteran RTS game developers from franchises such as Company of Heroes and Dawn of War. In case you missed previous info, this indie project has grown considerably thanks to new funding. It is going to be rich in both narrative and gameplay. Some new content developers have been working on is, for example, the ERA Warden, an APC armed with a mortar. Next there is the ERA's Factions Technician, an engineering unit which can repair structures, vehicles and even bridges. This vehicle is the IRM Bullfrog, also an APC, but one that can hover above water. And mentioning environments like water, this is another focus point right now for the devs, who are making sure that world building can be done faster, smarter and far more consistently using an in-house procedural content generation system. They have also finished preparing the narrative they will use as the backdrop for the demo of Defcon Zero. No, I don't have an ETA on that demo. Hopefully we'll learn more about that in their next dev update at the end of June or start of July. Now, as I said in the intro, this last month has been quite eventful for the RTS genre, And one of the more incredible pieces of news is the comeback of R.U.S.E on Steam, and it's even Steam Deck verified now. Its original developers, Eugene Systems, got the rights to the game back from Ubisoft and put it up on Steam with all DLC included. And Ubisoft, well, this pioneer of 4A gaming seems to be sinking ever deeper into the business depths of has-beens. If you're not aware of this game, it is one of the more original ones with a top-down perspective on a massive battlefield during the Second World War, and you act as a general who deploys the so-called R.U.S.E cards to deceive your enemies. It does have a single-player campaign, operations game mode, skirmish and multiplayer for up to 8 players. Many have mentioned it in my video's comments over the years, and now we can all play it once more. If you jumped on it already, let me know how you like it so far in the comments below. Besides bringing back old favorites, RTS game devs are also introducing new games and sequels. One such is the Fertile Crescent 2, subtitled Collapse of the Bronze Age, and this time it comes with a narrative, meaning we get to play a story-driven campaign. Gathering resources and building up your village remains the center of gameplay, while besides the mentioned campaign, this sequel will offer both online PvP and co-op, skirmish scenarios as well as multiplayer on dedicated servers. That last one was quite a surprise, to be honest, as few small developer studios do more than peer-to-peer multiplayer. I also want to thank them for the exclusive footage and music they sent me to create this showcase. Planned factions include Assyrians, Egyptians, Babylonians and Hittites, with food as a central resource, but also a mechanic which will decide your population, size of armies and overall progression through the game. Units are planned to be asymmetrical, giving these factions, which can't really have much different technologies for the time, a more interesting feel and offering different possible gameplay strategies. There isn't a lot of news about Ephemeris, but at least we got a brand new gameplay trailer of this amazing solo-developed RTS and 4X hybrid. Not only has its funding been mostly secured, but this trailer showed some new ship designs, changes to the UI, and from what I could notice, graphics, animations and effects were also improved. In case you are hearing about this game for the first time now, I made several videos about it already and played some of its previous versions. So I will link for you a full playlist of videos about it here on the right and down in the description. It is a very bold project which not only gives you RTS space battles with ships you can assemble yourself from various parts, going from fighters to giant battlecruisers, but also physics-based movement and first-person controls on top of the second 4X game layer. There you expand to other planets, discover new tech within a partially randomized tree, create population, farming or production centers, and build up those fleets for interstellar war with alien species. Yes, it is basically 2 games in one, similar to Total War, but in space with homeworld ship formations and stances made by a solo developer. Yet another unexpected event is the fact that the highly anticipated upcoming reimagining of Empire Earth, which we knew up to now by the title Empire Eternal, is changing its name to IMPERIUM Eternal. It is mostly a work of a solo indie dev, but with the support of a publisher now, and we have seen more and more of its freshly made content. Dev explained in his post that the name change comes from the fact that his project is going beyond the original Empire Earth game in several ways, like visual, scale and atmosphere, and so deserves a new title. You can learn more about the project on its official Discord or the dev's logs, like the recent changes to the unit movement, collision and combat, as well as the mass resource gathering systems. The unit numbers and their formations can grow to incredible size, as was shown already in previous dev videos, and more will be shown soon. It is among the most interesting new projects, and as with most being almost solo developed, it is yet another example of the incredible talent these RTS game devs possess. But instead of waiting for Imperium Eternal, you can once again buy and play Empire Earth games on Steam, just like R.U.S E. Those two have once again been published. I told you this has been an incredible month for RTS games, and this is just another proof of that. All three games are accessible once again as a bundle, but you can also buy these games individually. The only downside is that there are no official multiplayer servers you can use, but you can design your own faction, use the map editor and play the world domination mode, where you conquer the entire globe of Earth, one skirmish at a time in the third game of the series. Cubic Annihilation is a solo indie devs project which I have shown you before, but he has updated his demo multiple times, so you might want to take your first or second look at it. In case you don't remember, it is an RTS in which you can customize your loadout before each match, allowing you to pick specific units, buildings, upgrades, abilities, and commanders to bring into battle. Dev has finished the minimap and made it possible to give orders to units on it, as well as to place pings. Turrets have become upgradable from Tech Tier 1 to Tier 3, while he will add more defensive upgrades like a shield generator, railgun and more. He also made the commander unit respawn, but with both a time and resource price, while it will have modules in the future. There is actually a lot more he has done or plans to, so I will show this in more detail in a future video. Tabletop Tavern is another solo project, but not exactly an RTS, as it lacks the base building aspect and plays like a fantasy total war game mixed with an innovative roguelike system of traveling through a map and choosing your own path, which leads to high replayability. The release date has been set for the 11th of June, and its Steam page has been up for a long time along with demos. So I hope you already wishlisted it like almost 100,000 other gamers have already, but if you haven't, you know what to do now. There is a wide array of factions and units from Vikings to Orcs and Elves, along with your own leader character. Since you don't build new units, you gain them as you play your current run and can gamble with vendors, gain boosts or items. Soldiers, beasts and monsters come in formed up units. With more numbers, the weaker they are, with different stats, abilities and possible formations they can use on the battlefield. You can actually rest some of them between battles to heal them, but there are also other ways to do so. It is a very interesting game which is hard to put down once you get into it. I hope many of you will enjoy playing it. The next release date I can mention, it will probably be in the past by the time you watch this video, is for the first act of the campaign for NEBULOUS Fleet Command. It is an incredible spaceship combat game, if hard to get into, so this campaign should be the perfect starting point for all of you who have been on the fence about getting into it.
But I thought his plan would be a little more well considered.
The first act of the campaign, released on May 29th, is designed with that in mind, with each mission introducing new and distinct challenges, which will teach you both the gameplay and mechanics of NEBULOUS as you fight each new enemy ship type on brand new maps. Best of all, you can do this in co-op with up to 10 players. The story is told through fully voice-acted scenes during gameplay, in-engine cutscenes and hand-drawn animatics, while logistics include ammunition, fuel and damage, which persists from mission to mission on each ship. You can resupply by boarding destroyed enemy ships, which is one of the new mechanics, along with the Warden-class fleet carrier, which will be your flagship.
Surrender. There will not be another opportunity like this one.
We're out here, behind enemy lines, facing the entire Protectorate Navy.
These missions also feature massive space station megastructures that appear throughout the campaign as both objectives to disable and locations to loot for extra supplies. One incredible extra tidbit there is that the editor tools which the devs used to create this campaign are part of this game update and will be available for us all to use. Devs describe them as user-friendly, meaning that you don't need any modding skills to create your own missions. This reminds me very much of the tools shipped with FreeSpace so long ago and me trying to create missions and have my high school classmates record voices for the different mission briefings and pilot chatter. The good old days seem to be returning, my fellow RTS fans, and mostly due to amazing devs like the ones at Eridanus Industries and their publisher Hooded Horse. Another release date we now know about, but one that isn't soon, is for Warhammer 40k Dawn of War 4. Devs posted a new trailer which shows some new footage, but more importantly the release date for the 17th of September. Along with that, we were shown plans for future content additions available for pre-order in the more expensive Commander's edition of the game, priced at €90 or US depending on your region. That future content, which isn't included in the regular €60 or US version, is an extra 5th faction, an expansion single-player campaign, as well as a prequel prologue for the Bloodraven faction and the digital soundtrack. I am not going to tell you what to do about the pre-order, but I know I am not going to do it, despite Steam's new rules which would force the publisher and developer to produce the promised content. Also, from my point of view, while inflation of prices and lower value of paper money means devs and publishers have to raise prices across the board, I am also aware how many factions, commanders or game modes can become part of this game, and that means dozens of potential DLCs, making the final game cost hundreds of dollars. On the bright side, they are going to make free content additions in the form of Crusade and Last Stand gameplay modes, as well as the mission editor and more official maps and commanders for us to play with. It's a mixed bag type of news, and do feel free to voice your support or concerns about this in the comments below. And I also expect to hear of your impressions of the third faction in the new free open beta of Tempest Rising, which will be online until the 10th of June on Steam. Yes, it is free as it is a separate version of the game anyone can download and play with all the 3 factions, including the yet unreleased VETI. As the purpose of this beta is to get feedback and test the VETI faction, campaign and leaderboards are the only unavailable game modes. Meaning you can play in both skirmish and multiplayer on 26 maps in matches with or without AI bots for up to 6 players. This free beta version of the game even has quick play matchmaking enabled as well as the spectator mode. Devs went an extra step and both wrote how to play this faction and created an overview video of it you can see here, while you can read the instructions in the game's Steam news section. Why do you need instructions for it, you might ask? Because it plays so differently. Is it a good thing? I would say yes, considering how many comments I read about players asking for asymmetrical factions and fresh gameplay. Are you going to like this version of the VETI? Well, play and tell me. Now, from the AA RTS market, let's go down into the trenches of indie teams and solo indie developers, as I have no less than 6 new games to talk about, and some are releasing very soon. First of these is Final Strategy, which I will go more in depth in a dedicated video soon, but for now I want to tell you that it is a solo developed game which has a demo available on its Steam store page, and it will be released on June 1st. One of its defining features is being able to command units in its modern battlefields both from top down and first or third person view when you take direct control over units. There is an impressive amount of ground and air vehicles in the game, and it features infantry too. How much depth is there to it? I will answer that in that future video. Until then, let's move on to the next indie project titled Marshals of War Orcblood. It doesn't have a release date yet, but what it has are orcs, like the title implies, and humans as well as dwarves and elves. Visually, it is an interesting blend of RTS and those more single hero oriented offshoots of RTS games many blame for the end of the RTS golden era, so they shall remain unnamed here. Interestingly enough, this project will remain without true multiplayer, with only an arcade co-op mode to play after you go through its single player campaign. There are bases to construct, armies to recruit, heroes to customize and loot to gain, so I'm interested to see what the final product is going to look like, but I hope it will not feature such familiar UI and textures, if you know what I mean. Next such indie project is titled Ironfields, and it too is sticking to the single-player game modes with a planned level editor. Its gameplay is the wild card as it goes against the norms and doesn't let you construct bases on your own, but forces you to fight for factories, power plants, satellites and other strategic structures already placed on the battlefield. You are allowed to add defensive towers, upgrade your units and call in airstrikes to push enemy lines, so it will be cool to playtest and figure out how exactly does that play out before its planned release date in the last quarter of 2026. A much closer release date is set for Machinefall on the 10th of July, and it has a demo already available on its Steam store page. I do find its post-apocalyptic setting a bit at odds with its main features, which are massive numbers of machines forms and advancing through distinct technological eras, but then again I am not completely familiar with its lore. Its second mass-scale feature is the fact that you can develop your own settlements across a world map. You can literally zoom out from a single battlefield to the orbital view of the planet. And yes, this one is single-player only too. Next new title, Iron Expedition, is an odd mix of its own, with RTS gameplay being the backdrop to an action game where you take control of a mech commander-like unit with top-down shooter controls, while your base and units support you in battles. There are even 3 resources to collect and technology to upgrade, while the mentioned units follow you as they get recruited at your base. I have played some similar games before, and some of you might enjoy this too. The last of the 6 totally new games I have to show and talk about is titled Battledroid, and this one is totally opposite as it is designed to be a multiplayer, even MMO type battle simulation game that has elements of auto-battler and tower defense. But what do all these words mean for its gameplay? From what I was able to figure out, you build up your base with numerous types of defenses and support buildings with different functions, and then other players come in with armies up to 1000 units strong and try to destroy it. Then you reverse roles and you play the attacker against their base. If you succeed, you win rewards like new types of units, upgrades, extra supplies or cash. This you spend in the Armory of Swords to customize your own battle droids. To finalize the trifecta of news about old games being given new life, here is an update on KKND, Krush Kill N Destroy, and a major update devs posted on Steam and GOG Galaxy. They modernized online multiplayer, restored HD sound effects, added more playable resolutions, better mod support, including an update to the KKND2 map editor for compatibility with 64-bit operating systems, and additional languages for localization. I bet you never expected to see such an update for this beloved gem of a game, and along with R.U.S.E and Empire Earth, we are witnessing a rebirth of the genre which might be led by new indie developers and bigger teams like those of ZeroSpace and Tempest Rising, but old-timers seem to be rallying behind their banner as well. What a time to be an RTS fan! On that note, I want to use the opportunity to mention that a partner dev team which helps with ZeroSpace, Ironfields Games, are launching Atre Dominance Wars on the 8th of June on Steam. I have talked about this game numerous times because it is a very cool mix of real-time and 4X elements, blending styles of several fan-favorite games into a new, unique and fun experience. You can learn more about it in my dedicated videos on Atre Dominance Wars on my second channel, which I have in all my creative glory named Paraphilosoph 2. The latest content DLC for Company of Heroes 3 has already been released, and while I'm working on a more in-depth look at it in a future video, I wanted to let you know what it brings and what is the current reception from your fellow gamers. This time around it is 4 new battle groups under the title Dare and Destroy, with 1 for each faction. Free French for the US, Siegebreaker for Wehrmacht, Special Service for British, and Elite Forces for the Africa Corps. A multiplayer balance patch, which already needed several hotfixes, followed this DLC, but in essence it changed anti-air, snipers, off-map abilities, heavy machine gunners, and the overall late-game balance. Each of these new battle groups has something special, like the Free French have railway artillery and concrete bastions, or elite forces their Ace Stuka and Tigers. But there are negative reviews citing high price bundling 4 battle groups into one purchase and the inevitable balancing problems which come with introducing new units and abilities. Relic is truly testing the limits of milking their franchise to support their financial independence from any publisher, and we will see soon enough how far the player base is willing to stretch its wallets. If you already own the DLC and have played with these new battle groups, drop a comment with your thoughts about them. Another game which received a lot of updates is Sins of a Solar Empire 2, as did its massive Star Trek Armada 4 mod with the introduction of the Cardassian faction. As for the update to the main game, the 1.6 version, titled Horizons, is a large-scale change to the face of the game, followed by game engine performance upgrades and save file reductions. Sins 2 now has a totally new faction selection screen, custom 2D hand-painted portraits, redone lobbies and player colors. Devs even put in the in-game map editor back, while each faction received new defense platform abilities. Interestingly enough, the Advanced Starbase got 2 new items, while the AI running this faction should be much better at using Unity abilities. The Vasari faction received some balancing changes, mainly the cost of several Vasari capital ships has been increased, along with minor changes to tech and ship construction buildings. The mod I mentioned, Star Trek Armada 4, has been in development for a while and we can now play it using the Cardassian Union faction, but this is still an early pre-alpha preview of this faction. There is a lot of work remaining to be done, like adding an ability to create a gravity well drift to help control enemy movement to one of the Cardassian vessels, for example. I know the fans of Deep Space Nine among you will ask, but what about the Dominion faction, and are Cardassians a separate faction? The answer from the modders is yes. They are going to keep these factions as fully playable independent choices. Dominion is the very next faction on the modders' roadmap right after finishing the Cardassians. Now, as we have established both in this video and in many others on my channel, the RTS genre is quite diverse and filled with all sorts of games. These go from the smallest tactical to grand universe-sized scale, and their gameplay mechanics vary just as much. So this is why I want to mention the newly announced Battlespace Command game from veteran developers and to be published by Microprose, one of the rare publishers who pick up new RTS game projects. This game has massive scale with a modern warfare team of land, air and sea units, and the entire world is your battlefield with more than 50 playable nations. This of course necessitates a camera which goes from zooming into a single squad of infantry to battle maps of entire continents. Devs plan to have modding support, mission creation and Steam Workshop integration, while gameplay features 250 plus units, ISR platforms, electronic warfare, and even realistic physics-based simulation of sensors and signals. This is the type of a game gaming dads play and forget to go to sleep for work, or to pick up kids from daycare, so take care if you decide to jump in once it is released. The next upcoming game is called an automation RTS by its developers, while its title, Warfactory, should be familiar to you, as I have shown this indie project to you in several stages of development. This footage is from its brand new trailer, featuring what was changed in the last half a year. Mostly it has been about changing maps and adding fresh units for massive battles, while also rebuilding the UI. The game's main premise is for us to be able to build factories that mass-produce armies of mechs, and then fight alien bugs with them on sprawling open battlefields. It involves a certain array of planetary assembly lines, logistics, and a hex grid. Devs want to create a handcrafted story mode as well as a procedurally generated roguelike mode for us to play. Do check out its Steam store page, as you might find access there to test it out. One more publisher which doesn't invest much in base building RTS games but has a good number of RTT games under its publishing label is Slytherin. So besides Broken Arrow, which is probably now its most valuable and well-known title, it has also been investing in DLCs for both the Starship Troopers Terran Command and Terminator Dark Fate games. The Eradicators DLC is the one released a few days ago for Starship Troopers Terran Command, with a totally new story campaign involving a new planet, fresh units, the monstrous Hydra bug, and integrating the territory mode mechanics with deploying and controlling your own Arachnid hordes. This means you capture and hold territory points to gain resources and unlock technologies. Even deploying new units and constructing defenses is tied into this system, all the while you have to fight the adaptive Arachnid AI. The other game, Terminator Dark Fate Defiance, will soon get its new DLC titled Evolution. Here too we get a new single-player campaign to play, in which Resistance and Integrator forces together battle versus Legion's mining operations and research facilities across the frozen wastes of Canada. There we will face advanced revs engineered for speed and close-quarter combat, while the human faction also gets new big boy military toys. Now, in case you missed my dedicated videos, I talked about the full release of Rogue Command, which came out of early access with its highly interesting roguelike single-player mission system and meta progression between separate playthroughs. The modders who work on the Battle for Tamriel, which is an Elder Scrolls modification of the Battle for Middle-earth 2 and its Rise of the Witch King expansion, added the Oblivion faction, while the solo indie dev of Liquidation opened his new demo version for both skirmish and multiplayer players. All of these videos are on my playlists, linked here as cards on the screen and links in the description, while I have many more updates and new games to showcase to you. Thank you for watching and happy gaming!